Welcome to another episode of the Do Big podcast. Today we have with us Geetika Kambli, a seasoned researcher. Geetika is founder at Humanify, an AI-driven platform that converts real-time human behavior into amazing insights. She is a managing committee member of the Market Research Society of India and a committee member at NASSCOM's Responsible AI panel. She's committed to the cause of research technology. At a personal level, she works closely on programs for more women in tech. She is the past chairman at CII's Indian Women Network and an invitee to the National Commission for Women Empowerment. And she drives several industry programs to meet this objective of hers. Geetika, welcome to the Do Big podcast. Let's start with a little bit of fun.
Okay.
So here's a set of rapid fire questions for you. Okay. One word that describes you as an entrepreneur.
Committed.
Okay. If you were not an entrepreneur, what would you be?
Work in some academic, intellectual kind of think tank.
Okay. One business leader you'd want to have.
Oh, that's easy. Larry Page.
Okay.
Google it is.
Okay. One tech trend that excites you most. I know the answer to that one.
No, actually, I think it's the gig economy. I don't know if you can call it a tech trend, but it's, I think it's interesting to see how people are beginning to look at their lives very differently.
Interesting. And a hashtag for your entrepreneurial journey?
Bring it on.
Love that one. So that's the rapid fire for you. But now let's get to something a little more serious. Not really, but a little more serious. So you're the founder of Humanify, right? And that's a company that's focused on behavioral research. What sparked your interest in this field?
Okay. So I think my first brush with research was when I was doing my MBA. So that's really long ago. And my thesis was on something called laddering. It's an ancient technology. Okay, the methodology is like 60s or something. But it really struck me because at that time, everybody was doing focus groups and depth interviews. And here there was a way to, give people a chance to make choices and then interpret a bigger story out of that. And later on, my favorite quote around that was Henry Ford's quote saying, if you ask people, you'll make a faster horse. Okay. I know it's kind of strange coming from a researcher, but I think it's more about interpreting what people do rather than asking them to express their choices clearly to you. So I think that was the beginning. And Humanify is really just doing that. It's capturing conversations, observations, and it's saying, listen, just build the intelligence to interpret that behavior. So I think I've committed a couple of decades to that thought now.
So while Humanify seems like an extension of your passion for research, what really made you bring AI and research together in Humanify?
I think tech is fascinating. It's absolutely brilliant. We kind of stumbled upon it. We are also a COVID baby, correct, right? And I mean, you can't study behavior when you're wearing a mask and you can't sit in front of someone. So we had to kind of experiment with tech and say, listen, let's have people self-attest their behavior. So our first version was like a very basic kind of smartphone app. And then we built on it. First, we had, built some software. Then we moved to machine learning, and then we moved to AI. So it's not like, let's do an AI startup. I think we were trying to create something unique to solve a problem that really existed. And we found AI to be the right tech to support it.
On the one side, AI, on the other side, Humanify.
Yeah.
Tell me the marriage.
Oh my gosh. No, very true. We went back and forth on the name. And I have to say it's Jashish, my partner, who actually stumbled upon the name, and we give him full credit for it every time we meet him. But the whole idea really is, Humanify is a strange name for a tech company because we believe the human is in the center of everything. And what we're trying to solve for is find a way to inform product companies, service companies, to understand real human needs and build products and services that reflect them. And we put the human in the center, even the way we work. We're like, okay, it's a tool. It's not an outcome, right? The researcher has to add his or her perspective or the interpretation.
That's interesting. So I know that a lot of large companies tend to do research and they're very consumer focused on all of that. But there are small businesses who also need to start becoming, a little more consumer focused. I just want to understand, how does a company like Humanify help smaller companies, let's call them MSMEs for now? How do they get into getting consumer behavior insights without really spending all of the massive research budgets that large companies can afford?
Yeah. No, and see, that's what AI can do, right? I mean, tech is essentially making things faster, cheaper. But I think yes, and the platform actually helps you do research at less than half the cost and time. But that is kind of expected with tech now. I think the beauty is that, having spun out of a design company, I don't know if I mentioned, but Humanify spun out of a Future Factory, which is, one of the premier design studios here. I think the idea of making something that's essentially very intuitive is really what guided us all along. So we didn't really build it thinking that we'd build it for non-experts.
Right.
But I think it works best for non-experts. So I was just talking to a client today and they were like, listen, we work with all these big agencies, but sometimes we like to do research on our own. And I said, why don't you just use it as a tool, right? Don't outsource the research to us. That's I think what the product does best.
And share some behavioral insights, which you've got, some very interesting things that you've got out of Humanify.
Yeah. Okay. It's a super, super product. And I have to give Future Factory credit along with Humanify. I'm sure someone's tracking the IP around here somewhere. But so we were doing this project for a company on home safes. And they wanted to know what kind of features consumers would like in a home safe. And we obviously did it a little differently rather than, here are 5 features, please rank rate, Likert scale. So we said, no, let's just see when people have a lot of valuables at home. So we did Pongal in the south. We did, another time, I think we did Karwa Chauth in the north. And we kind of sat in their homes and we said, record your experiences, your thoughts. And it's very interesting because the whole industry was making these massive safes, right? They'd weigh a ton and all their ads were like, these thieves are breaking in and they're using these blow torches to like open them. Like, see, you can put anything as valuable and you can't break it. But when we realized, when we interpreted their results, that actually they don't want to bring anything valuable into their home because they're saying it's my responsibility if I bring something valuable back. So you can give me the best product in the world, but that's not a responsibility I want to take. So we kind of flipped it on its head. And there's a very interesting behavioral research principle called anchoring. The brands were anchoring the performance of the product, comparing it to a bank locker. And the consumer was anchoring it to like an unlocked drawer. And so we had to dumb down the performance and come up with a new line that was built on electronic safety, geofencing, things like that. And it was fantastic. It did very well.
That's amazing. It's so counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
You would always think that if you have valuables, bigger safe.
Or if you make something better, it'll sell.
Yes.
Not always.
I know it's research at the end of the day, but what kind of business problems can Humanify help businesses solve?
Yeah, I know. I love that question. And I'm just going to wing it. I think a lot of companies expect to solve the research problems. Give me a pricing study. Give me a triggers and a barrier study. Give me a brand health study. But the business problems that you deal with are sometimes very different.
Right.
I mean, you could start with saying, I need something for the next launch. What should it be? I am trying to build something for this TG, which doesn't understand the category at all. What should I do? And then essentially you're doing a product adoption study. So I think tech allows you to think from scratch And if you create building blocks that can be arranged in different ways, then you can help a client actually solve their business problems. I mean, it could be a designer sitting in a design studio. It could be a small marketing consultant, or it could be, a big brand.
And that's so interesting, right? Because small businesses really need answers really quickly, especially in today's day and age. And I think one of the things that you bring to the table is really faster turnarounds on research.
Yeah.
And being a classic researcher, I know that, it's always long versus the short.
Yeah.
And how does that work with brands? How does it make them feel? Because some brands will adopt to it and some will say, does this give me the insights that I want if you're going to do this in 5 days?
Yeah.
How does that play out?
Oh, so businesses love it. Yeah. I mean, businesses are very happy if you can do it faster. And, once you deliver the results, they believe you. But researchers hate it. I'm a researcher too, but I'm a convert. So that doesn't count. Because I think, when you're used to traditional tools, there is the thought that says you need the time to do something well. Now, I think what AI specifically as a tech has done is it's disrupted what you can do. So it's not just digitizing. It's not taking the same thing you're doing offline and doing it faster. It's just changing the way you're capturing and reimagining data. I think if the research community can understand that, I would love researchers to use this tool more than businesses themselves.
That makes sense. And we talked about business cases, but I'm just trying to understand that there's a lot of stuff, and you said data. There's a lot of stuff that businesses think about as, I have data, how do I analyze this data? I have stuff which is already existing in my organization, what do I do with it? Does Humanify also play a role there? Does it pick some stuff, make some things, move on with it?
Yeah, I think an AI company is essentially a data company. And we keep wondering whether we are actually a research company or a sense-making data company. I think AI is kind of, if I can put it in a different way, maybe AI is analytics 2.0. So it's not so much primary research 2.0, qualitative 2.0, analytics 2.0. It's just taken everything and disrupted it. So yes, you can do primary data faster, cheaper. You can capture the experience in the moment of consumption. I'm having a burger. What do I feel right now? I'm trying to buy life insurance. What am I doing right now? And it can also do this at scale. So you're actually doing qualitative interviews at, 5,000 people scale. So it's kind of changing the way you look at it. So if you start from a problem or a question that you have and say, I want to compare data over time, or I want to look at a fresh pair of eyes for the same question, or I have all that data and I want to ask it a new question, right? So we have to do all of that. We do it, but it's also expected of us.
So Geetika, in this segment, I'm going to focus a little more about a topic which seems to be a favorite with a lot of people. And we are in the month of Women's Day. So I do want to talk about this. And yes. And I just want to understand that even today, and there's enough and more data floating to say that women in tech, and especially in tech leadership, are very, very underrepresented. Not just in India, but I think globally they're extremely underrepresented. What has been your personal experience in navigating this scene?
So the thing is that women at work is in itself a big story, right?
Yes.
I mean, keeping women in the workforce, preventing dropouts, biases, the 2 big M's, menstruation, marriage, okay, all of that. But the thing about tech is that it just complicates it even further because it's so quick and it's changing all the time. Now, let's just go back to 2020, right? Early 2020. Maybe, I think 30%, maybe 20% of people were very familiar with Zoom and Teams and all of that. Now, imagine someone taking a break at that time and coming back now in 2024, right? I mean, just look at what you have to deal with. We're not even talking AI. We're saying, how familiar are you with running groups online? Like, do you know all the features? Do you know how to use them? Do you know how to save stuff? The pace is so rapid that you don't get a chance to plan a break. And I think for women, the role we play in society, and actually it's an honor. It's a big plus to be able to play those roles. We need to be able to be flexible and plan our time. That's very, very hard to do in tech. So therefore, women in tech becomes harder. But I think the bigger one for women in tech is more about leadership positions.
Right.
And that is one thing that bothers me. From the time I remember, you sit in on a meeting where people are making decisions and they're mostly men. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter whether, when I was working client side, the MD and the board were all men. Now you make presentations to boards, again, you're one
Dominant
or two
men.
women. And I think we miss out on making decisions as a voice. And that's a different story, though.
But how do we bring that change? Because I know I was speaking to somebody else in tech, and she said, women who come into university and study engineering or technology or whatever is X percentage. When they come into the workforce, it's the same. The marriage happens and it drops by 25%. By the time they come to the mid-level of career, they've had a child, it's gone down 50%. And then by the time you come to the top, you're like at the top 5%. They've all just dropped. Is it just about women helping women, or is it the industry taking women together to make it happen?
It's much deeper than that. I'll give you an example, right? You take a woman who's ambitious and who's made it to the boardroom. She's putting in maybe 12 hours a day. She's missing a lot of the events, the family events, etc. But she's doing well. What is she going to hear from her community? She's going to hear, why are you working so hard? Are you short of money? Right? Or she's going to hear, why are you not content? Right? I mean, why aren't you content with what's... So I think, and it comes from a good place, when people say that. But it gets harder for women to, like we said, it's already hard to be at work, and then to defend why you're doing it when you half the time don't understand why you're doing it yourself, right? Because it's very intuitive to put your best out there. So I think it would help if there was more recognition for women who did well in so many ways. I keep thinking that we do a Women's Day award and, we call women and we give them a trophy.
Right.
I mean, what if their husbands were part of this whole thing? What if their sons were part of this whole thing? Would they make them proud? And it's not even about saying, I'll do the dishes, but it's about saying, you're doing something right.
Yeah. It's not even about saying it's okay to leave the dishes. You know what I mean?
Okay, I didn't say that.
3 challenges that you faced as a woman entrepreneur.
I don't know, Sheetal. I keep thinking that I don't know if I'm lucky or I can completely empathize with all the challenges that we face. But somehow I can't kind of recollect anything specific that I think has been unfair to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? I mean, I if I was to be honest, I think I've been given the same chances as men most of my life. I like to think I've been criticized more, but I don't think that has to do with my gender. That probably has to do with me. I also think I've been inspired more. And there again, maybe I've been lucky because I've found women who've at work, at home, in families that have kind of held their own up and found my own way to deal with it. So personally, I think I've faced lots of challenges as an entrepreneur. Oh man, hell of a lot. But I don't know, being a women entrepreneur has
made a difference.
I don't know if it has.
Okay. And if women want to be entrepreneurs in the tech industry, 3 pieces of advice.
Yeah. No, first off, commitment, right? I mean, you just have to land up and you have to make it work, because, there are all those people working outside who have bet their lives on you. It's not just about paying their salaries, it's about making sure that the choices they've made play out for them in a certain way. So in some sense, you're not really running your own life, right? You're running everyone else's.
Right.
I remember we met a very small SME entrepreneur, and he called us to his annual event at the factory. And we were all sitting there. And I said, wow, look, you have 200 people here. He says, no, I look at them and I feel a sense of responsibility. I don't feel like, wow.
Yes, 200 families.
It's 200
there.
families. And, even in COVID, we felt that.
Right.
There were people who were paying EMIs. There were people who had to put their kids through school. And we had to find a way to make everyone's life work. So commitment, I think. I think the second is we need to take ourselves a bit seriously. Yeah.
Seriously or not so seriously?
No, seriously. And I don't know if it's a generation problem, so I don't want to go there. But I think the more society gives you the options, I'm going back to the bias as to why do you really want to work? Do you need the money? Right? It's two sides of that coin. One is to say, we're kind of not encouraging you to go out there and do stuff. And the second is, that at the end of the day, you're not expected to do it. So you can walk away from it. And there are enough women who say, I'm going to take the second choice because it's easy. And I think that does a disservice to everyone. I know I got the choices, the chances I did in my life, because somebody before me did a damn good job, right? So my male boss or my male client said, look, we can trust her. We have this good experience. Okay. So I think the second thing I would give out to all women out there essentially is to say, if you don't need the money, do it for your daughters, your nieces, pave a better way for them.
And the third one?
I think just be inspired. I think it's complicated being a woman because we have all these wonderful roles to play, but then we're always picking one over the other. Sometimes I think you just have to pick one over the other depending on the occasion. Right. So it's never work before family or family before work. It depends on how badly your family needs you or your work needs you at that moment. So I think rather than taking a mantra, like just, by the seat of your pants, make the decision.
Okay. The SME world has struggled even more than the corporate world to have women come into this space. Any thoughts there?
I don't think they get enough support. I mean, I've been an SME. A small boutique agency is an SME. You're always fighting for resource.
Okay.
And fighting for the right advice. And I've been client side as well, right? So you're a subsidiary of a very large multinational brand based out of India versus you're a 70-person studio. And now you're a 20-person tech startup. Resources are always short. And I think it would help if whatever bodies there are out there to help SMEs, there's a lot of institutes, if they could actually do something very practical and useful. Like we don't have something related to how to navigate AI.
Right.
I mean, they don't have the thousands of dollars, forget hundreds of dollars, to put into experimenting with some LLM or not, right? And neither can they afford to get a consultant and say, figure it out, which a big brand can do. But as a group, maybe they can. So I think it would be useful if there were larger challenges that face the industry as a whole, and if some help were given there.
That's interesting. A lot of women I speak to talk about finance as one of the big challenges of being a female entrepreneur. Just want to understand, because you come from the space of tech, so I know tech is not the challenge, but is finance or dealing with money something that you feel a lot of women entrepreneurs struggle with?
So I've heard that a lot. That's a loaded question, right? I'll take it bit by bit. I think there are some people who like working with money and there's some people who don't like working with money. I think it's more about that choice than it is about the ability to do it. I hate accounting, but I have to do it, right? So it's, I have to treat myself when I have to look at the numbers, even when the numbers are good. Okay. Yeah, so I think it's more about that. It's like saying women are good at creative and are good people's persons, and men are, good at business. That's not true.
True that.
But I think you just play to the choices you get. That's why you have less women in tech and more women in education.
Right.
Because society encourages it.
Mm.
But I think it's a personal disposition.
Okay. My last question.
Okay.
And this is a question I ask every guest.
I should have planned.
What's your do big mantra for our listeners?
Oh, yes. I like that one. I use that in all my presentations. So I am
a
prepared.
mantra. Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a quote from Sacred Games, the TV series by Nawazuddin Siddiqui.
Okay.
Right? Gaitonde.
Okay. I'll be honest, I haven't watched it.
Oh, you should watch it. You should watch it. You really should watch it. And he says, "Tu daring kar."
How lovely.
I think that's fabulous. I think be inspired and do not be afraid. There's a big safety net to catch you. There's nothing you can do to really screw up your life. So just go for it.
That's fantastic. So dare is what you're going to do. And we dare you to go and challenge yourselves and do something big. Thank you, Geetika. That was absolutely wonderful. Pleasure having you.
It was a blast. Thanks for being the perfect host.
Thank you so much.